Hi, this is Susan Colby again, and I'm going to be discussing the task portion of assignment design. So just a bit of a recap. We've already talked about the purpose, which is where you really craft out the student learning outcomes, what the knowledge and skill sets will be, and you put it in a context of why the assignment is important and how that type of work might be aligned to the real world. We're going to go over the task in this particular video, where we'll talk about what is it exactly that students are being asked to do and what are the steps for them to complete this task. And later we'll get back into the criteria. So there's some real basic questions that you want to ask yourself as you develop the task. For example, what task will involve real-world application of the content in a rigorous manner? What might you expect a professional in the field to do when they're working? Those are the kind of tasks that are more comprehensive and authentic. Then you want to be thinking about how is it possible to integrate content knowledge as well as skills in the assignment, so students are applying what they've learned already in the course. And then how can you frame the task so students will understand what they have to do? And that would include how will you break it down so students know exactly what is expected. And that aligns with the idea of transparency, so students have a really good understanding of what they need to do to be successful. So there's obviously many tasks that students can do. Just a couple they might see in a higher education classroom is a research study, selecting a topic and designing that full study. It could be an environmental scan where students examine a problem and determine viable solutions and the best solution. A lab report is also quite common. Research critiques, issues briefs where students examine an issue and then recommend a course of action. They could also critique a news article. The other thing we want to think about is these are all written genres, but you also might want students to produce something like a video, an infographic. So those are also options for students. Let's just look at what tasks might look like through the lens of a couple of Appalachian professors here. This is a issues brief from economics, and this is Dennis Ganay's work. You can see the purpose is well crafted, and again these are available on our Google site of resources, so you probably won't have a moment to read this too thoroughly right now. But you can see a nice crafted opening paragraph that talks to the issues brief as being a 2-page paper that they'll be doing with other students in an assigned group, and that they're going to have to make choices that would involve business, local or global economies, and other types of topics they've learned in class. They're going to have to be looking at media sources. And what I think is really helpful in this particular task is that it's framed around 4 key questions, which is a really nice way to prompt student learning and their thinking. What are the wants and constraints? What are the trade-offs? How will others respond? And what is someone not already, why is someone not already doing it? So you can see kind of this line of thinking that we're trying to help students learn and demonstrate knowledge of in this particular task. So that's one task from one of our Appalachian colleagues. A second example would be from Catherine Turner in history. This is primary sources and really thinking about how you would do a document analysis. You can see there is some of the purpose statements involved in the beginning, but I'm going to take you to the document analysis piece, the task part itself. And I like the opening paragraph. Whether you're aware of it or not, you analyze documents every day. How do you know if an article, a post, or a tweet is fake news? So you can go on from there. So this is a nice engaging language to get students interested in the task. You can see there's some sources that they have to actually access to be able to do this project. But then a real clear delineation of the steps involved. Find out more about the primary source. Read the primary source, and of course we need to be explicit about that. It seems like it's intuitive, but a lot of students come to higher ed without that preparation. Write your answer to some of your questions is step 3, and then cite your sources is step 4. This instructor also put in a little bit of a warning. Obviously, when you're using sources, you want to steer away from kind of the plagiarism area. So that's a second example of a task that a fellow colleague has done. And here's my last example for this particular video. And this is a keyword research project from the English department, a assignment that you would find there. You can see again that, of course, there's a prompt and an opening. But they have this, Peaches has clearly talked about primary research and secondary research and define those particular areas so that students will have an understanding of that. Again, as we get into the task, here are the following steps required of this for this assignment. Step 1, you're going to conduct your research. And then there's some description about what that would look like and how many sources are needed. Step 2 is they're actually going to create art that reflects what they've learned about their particular word that they've chosen. And then step 3 is writing an engaging creative piece that takes your readers on your research journey. And you can see how well this is formatted to make sure that students can navigate this document clearly. But at the end, there's this, she also mentions that this is not a standard research paper. It should sound like you and take the reader on a journey. So she's looking for voice in the student's work. So this is a well-crafted, explicit assignment. And then what's nice about this is she talks about where people often lose points. So when instructors give tips to students about what works and what doesn't work, that can be very helpful for students. And she's also got a section on where can I get more information. So all of this can be included in a quality task section in an assignment, in a transparent assignment. Okay, so thinking about how, though, now do you take your student learning outcomes that are listed at the top of the assignment, that's the knowledge and the skill sets, and then turn that into specific prompts in the tasks so students can provide evidence of meeting those outcomes. So I'm just going to walk through a couple of examples. And these ones are very popular in Gen Ed because these are mostly about critical thinking. So if you want your students to clearly explain an issue or a problem, then you might have a series of questions about that would just simply say, clearly explain, and then a little bit more information. So always thinking about the prompt that is going to elicit student learning is going to be really important. If you want students to selectively use information to investigate a point of view, then you might ask questions such as, what does the research say about blank? Provide credible sources to support your claims, or properly cite at least 3 credible sources. So those are kind of prompts that will help pull that out in the student's work. If you want students to evaluate the influence of context and assumptions when they present a position, then you could just be using prompts such as, considering this issue, why do you think blank? Or what motivates blank? So always thinking about the prompts that will elicit the student learning that you're looking for is really helpful. If you want your students to express a position that takes into account complexities of the issue and other viewpoints, then you can absolutely say, what would you recommend about blank and why? And in terms of conclusions, what conclusions can you draw from blank? How have you arrived at these conclusions? So all of these prompts will really help guide student learning to reach deeper levels of learning and not just regurgitate basic information. So let's look at our resources that we have. These are TaskQ questions, and this is from the Tilt Higher Ed project. And there is access to this in this Google site of resources. But you can see that they have some really nice prompts that can help you get started as you think about the different levels of Bloom's and how you can use prompts to actually elicit student learning at higher levels. So this can be a very helpful question card that can help you as you're designing your task portion of your transparent assignment. So now it's your turn to develop your assignment task. Again, be thinking first and foremost, what is the exact task? If I had to give it a short phrase, what would it be? Am I asking for a research paper, a critique, a video? Whatever it is, make sure that you can really put words around that so students can see it in their mind. And how does that look against real-world authentic assessments. Again, really looking at the purpose portion of your assignment and thinking about how does this task align with the student learning outcomes and the knowledge and the skill sets that I've identified for this particular assignment. And then, of course, it's simply breaking it down very explicitly in steps using a very easy to navigate format for students. And being very explicit, because while we might think it's really well understood how to write a good quality paragraph, that's not always the case with all the students. So being very explicit in your steps is important. We do have, which you're already aware of, is the planning guide that might help you as you complete this portion of your particular assignment and start working towards completing the full assignment. So hopefully that will help you as you think about how to design the task portion of your transparent assignment. Thanks so much and good luck.